Hello homebrewers, I'm Drew from CryptoBrewology.com for Mr. Beer. You know what today is? It's bottling day. We're one step closer to enjoying our homebrewed beer. Let's get to it. You can use all types of bottles when bottling your beer. Plastic soda bottles work great and come in all shapes and sizes. Just save the caps with them since the tops are sometimes different. If you're going for a more finished look, swing top style glass bottles, 12-ounce glass bottles, and plastic PET bottles are the way to go. These bottles, as well as caps, capper, and other bottling accessories are all available at MrBeer.com. Since the majority of Mr. Beer kits come with 8 of these 1-liter plastic PET bottles, I'll be using those to bottle today. PET stands for polyethylene terephthalate. That's a mouthful, but it's an effective barrier used to make plastic soda bottles and, in this case, Mr. Beer bottles. If your kit didn't come with bottles, plastic soda bottles will work just fine. Just collect enough to hold 256 ounces and make sure you use only bottles that held carbonated beverages. No plastic water bottles or anything like that, only soda bottles. Alright, let's get started. You know you're ready to bottle when the beer in the keg is relatively clear and not cloudy. Generally speaking, 2 weeks should be enough time for most Mr. Beer styles to settle out. In addition to how the beer looks, you should also take a small sample from the tap. If it tastes like flat beer, you're ready to bottle. If it tastes sweet, wait another day or two. To be absolutely sure the beer is ready, you can use a brewer's tool called a hydrometer to verify that fermentation is complete before you begin bottling. You can learn more about that on the Mr. Beer website. This one's ready. But before we start putting beer in these bottles, we have to make sure they and the caps are clean and sanitized, especially if you're reusing your bottles. You should still have half a pack of one-step no-rinse cleanser left over from sanitizing your keg and brewing equipment. Empty that remaining one step into a 1-gallon container and fill it with warm water. I use a glass jug, but an empty 1-gallon plastic water jug would work just fine. Using that container, fill each bottle halfway with sanitizer. I use a funnel so I don't miss the bottle. I just have to make sure I don't miss the funnel. Pour gently and do this part over the sink just in case. We need to make sure sanitizer contacts every surface in the bottle. You can simply put a cap on and shake it up, but you'll wind up leaving the tamper evidence ring around the neck of each bottle. It won't affect how well the cap seals, but I like to keep them intact for the sake of presentation, so I just cover the mouth of each bottle with my hand and shake them for a few seconds. Either way, let the bottles soak for 10 minutes. After the bottles are done, add some of the sanitizer to a bowl so you can sanitize your caps. The rest you can empty down the drain. Now we're ready to bottle. We'll be adding sugar to stimulate carbonation. Too much sugar or bottling too soon will result in too much carbonation and possibly bursting or gushing bottles later on. So make darn sure your beer is clear after fermentation. And refer to step 3.2 of the bottling instructions for specific sugar amounts. I'm using the 1-liter bottles, so I'll be adding 2.5 teaspoons of sugar per bottle. Standard measuring spoons will work fine, but it can be a little difficult to pour the sugar into the top of the bottle, so I'm using this handy sugar measure made especially for the task. It's available at MrBeer.com. It has narrow 3/4 and 1 1/4 measuring tubes that allow you to pour the sugar more precisely. Each side has a notch for measuring the right amount and a notch for pouring. Scoop a measured amount of sugar and carefully pour it into the bottle. Fill each bottle from the keg and make sure to hold them at an angle to reduce aeration. When you pitched the yeast, you wanted oxygen, but at this stage, adding oxygen could affect quality and shelf life of your final beer. So tip the bottle and let the beer run along the inside to prevent splashing. Fill each bottle to just above the base of the neck, about 2.5 inches from the top for the 1-liter bottles. Place a cap on the bottle and then hand tighten. Now invert the bottle several times to mix the sugar. Do not shake the bottle, tip it gently. Shaking will aerate the beer. After you've capped your bottles, they need to be stored upright and out of direct sunlight for at least a week. I keep mine where I put the keg during fermentation. Adding sugar causes the yeast to undergo another fermentation in the bottle, so they need to be kept at the proper temperature range, 68 to 76 degrees. That'll help the yeast carbonate the beer successfully. After a week, give the bottles a squeeze. If they're firm to the touch, they're ready to drink, so just put them in the fridge for about 24 hours. Even though your beer will carbonate in about 7 days, it'll take a little longer for the CO2 to be fully absorbed. You'll notice a real difference in the head and the flavor in another week or two. Try it and see. Pour a beer and sample it after a week, and you'll notice that the head is bubbly and thins out pretty fast. Wait 2 weeks or so before sampling another, and you'll see that the head is more dense and the flavor will have improved. To further improve the flavor, you can condition your beer. Chemical reactions occur that improve flavor as beer ages in the bottle. Try leaving your ales to condition at room temp for about 2 weeks, then refrigerate them for up to a few months. Do what works best for you. Sample your beers as they age, and you'll notice the improvement when they're given time to mature. Patience is key. Enjoy. Oh, and don't forget the labels.